I almost feel bad for conservative carnival barker and hate-monger Matt Walsh. Walsh writes that your marriage is 50% more likely to end in divorce if your wife earns more than you. It rocks so much that both wives and husbands consistently report being less satisfied in their marriage when the wife earns more. Yeah, it absolutely rocks for a man to be in a situation where his wife is a better provider than he is, totally inverting a system that has worked across all of human civilization since the dawn of humanity is great. Sending the message to your wife that you don't bring anything to the family that she doesn't already bring in greater supply is amazing. Good golly, where to begin? So it is true that in the 1 out of every 6 or so opposite-sex marriages where the wife earns more than the husband, they are more likely to divorce. According to some studies, 2 or maybe even 3 times as likely. However, that effect is not true if the relationship is egalitarian, if the couple is open to and perhaps even began the relationship with the understanding that they would not be abiding by traditional gender roles, which means that it is only a problem if the wife is out-earning the husband if they began the relationship with the understanding that he was the breadwinner. So part of that dissatisfaction that Walsh mentions, and he is absolutely correct about that, comes from the inflexibility of their roles when the situation on the ground changes. Because in those households where the wife was already doing the majority of the parenting, the majority of the domestic work, she actually takes on more as she earns more money. Husbands only perform the majority of the domestic work in situations where they are not working at all. I can only assume it's because they, like Walsh, believe that the only thing they are good for is a paycheck. That for, let's be honest, purely ideological reasons, they cannot be the caregiver, they cannot be the cleaner, the cook, certainly can't correspond with teachers, go to playdates, or do bedtime. Because what all this is an object lesson in how limiting and restrictive traditional masculine ideology is. How it sets so many men up for failure. Because women out-earning their husbands is not the problem here. That is not the phenomenon that is to blame. Teaching boys that the only value they can bring to a partner and a family is money, that's the problem. I also have to point out how laughably untrue it is that this system has existed since the dawn of human civilization. The middle-class breadwinner husband, stay-at-home mom, wife has existed since, like the middle of the 20th century in a select handful of countries only. Maybe one day Walsh will finally realize that he and people like him have done this to themselves. But probably not.